In terms of like the journaling side, back then I would imagine you could correct me if I'm wrong, but there wasn't probably software to give you metrics even at a basic level.
There was, and I'll talk about them. TradeView, people probably heard of TradeView. TradeView was, I think, the first one in stocks. I think the guy Greg, his name is, he started in 2012. He recently sold the company in 2020. I don't know for how much, but I heard a good number. But he started it, so shout out to him for coming into the space and creating something cool. But
so is that what gave you the insights originally, the metrics?
I used it, but no disrespect to TradeView, and I think they created a nice pivot in the space, but it lacked a lot of things.
Okay.
Right? So there were some things that they had that were cool, but there were some things that they had on like a psychological level, on a deeper trade level, that didn't incorporate like for example, if you take a trade, right, and you see a trade and you see you made $2,000, what is your first impression of the trade? Oh, I made $2,000. I did a good job.
Yeah.
But now, what if I show you a quick metric that says at one point you were down 6,000 on the trade, at one point you were down up 14,000 on the trade? You look at that trade and you're like, wow, this trade has been all over the place. I made 2K, but why was I down 6K? My stop loss was 1,500. I didn't follow my stop, so I essentially got lucky. And then if you look at another trade, maybe you were up 14,000. But you closed at 2,000. Wait, what? I was up 14 grand and I didn't sell. So there's small metrics like that we've incorporated in Tradezella. And I don't want to make this like a sponsorship thing, but just right. So
we'll talk about it.
It's like those metrics become very important, because now you can kind of open the drawer on a trade and see the behind the scenes. Like, hey, what was my best exit on this trade? Like I made $1,800, but I could have made like 15,000 on the trade. I could have made this much. Not that you should go back on a trade and always be like the what ifs, but imagine you have 30 trades, and every trade you look at in the 30 trades, about 20 of them you sold early, and something tells you sold early. Now your job should be to go back and be like, why did I sell here? Oh, I realize why I keep selling. I keep panicking. I see a higher number. I make 1,000. I get excited. I sell. Or maybe it hits a certain level that I think is resistance or is supply, but it's actually not supply. So I'm messing up on that. Okay, I need to work on something. So when you actively keep doing those things and you put your focus into narrowing down those mistakes, I think it makes the journey a lot easier and better.
Definitely. So like, being able to get that level of insight back then, was it something you had to just do yourself?
I was just manually doing it. I still have journals in like New York. I want to get it. I want to post it one day if I find it. But I know it's somewhere around the house. I have legit pre-market game plans, aftermarket notes. What do I think happened? Why did I do this? Why did I do that? And I like, there's days I'm like super hard on myself. You're such an idiot. You got so greedy. You were up this much. You didn't want to do it. This is what you get. This is what you deserve. Like I have like legitimate.
Did you have moments where you'd say that? Let's say like one day you're like, you're an idiot. You're oversized. You overdid this, and then you said, do this better next time, like as in like, I would do this and this, but then the next day you did the same thing and you said the same thing, like, you're an idiot, you just said this yesterday.
I've had days like that where I've just carried the same thing, and that goes into just having a level of discipline, right? Because I think the ultimate discipline, like when you watch boxing, right, and when you like really pay attention to boxing, a lot of boxing besides speed and power is discipline. Knowing when to throw a punch, knowing when not to throw a punch, knowing when to defend yourself, doing all those things. So when you go and watch Mayweather, right, he is the world's best boxer in my opinion because he's extremely disciplined. If you watch all his fights, not from like an excitement point, like, oh my God, he's not an exciting fighter, but from like a purely technical point of view, you start seeing how disciplined he is. He knows I'm not going to throw a punch. He's very accurate with his punches. When he does throw, he's most likely going to land. He has a high accuracy, right? So his discipline level is what got him super far. But now when you look at Mayweather outside of his life, he's disciplined everywhere. Every part of his life. Like he doesn't drink. You ask him, why don't you drink? Why am I going to drink? Why am I going to impact my boxing? He takes care of his sleep, his health, like every single thing. He's like on it, right? So trading is relatively the same thing. You're in front. You have an opponent that tests the market. Are you going to take every single swing at the market that gives you a little hole? Or are you going to say, I'm going to find the best opportunities and I'm going to stay patient on my hands, sitting like this and wait for that opportunity to come? That takes an extreme level of patience and discipline. Now, some people may magically have it. naturally, some people don't. I didn't have it. I didn't have the patience. I've developed into like this patient person with the markets and everything else in my life. And that took years and years of working on myself and understanding that I need to be patient, not just in the markets, but outside of markets.
Yes.
Right? Because you can't just turn on a switch that's like, okay, time for me to be patient, time for me to be disciplined. No, the discipline, patience, and all those things need to carry on throughout your whole life. Like, for example, if you go work out and you say, hey, tomorrow at 6 a.m., I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go work out. Wake up, go tomorrow, work out at 6 a.m. You told yourself you're going to do it. It's hard, do it.
Yeah.
Your mind starts getting wired to, taking on the challenge, doing the hard things. So in trading, that carries over because you're sitting down and you're like, okay, this is not a good trade. I'm not going to execute. I'm not going to put on a trade. I'm not going to put on size. I'm not going to do the things I told myself I'm not going to do, and I'll do the things I told myself I am going to do. And you'll see that correlation happen.
Definitely. I think what you touched on there is very, very important in terms of discipline. I think it starts all with your word.
Yeah.
I think it's the biggest one. Because I think a lot of people, they don't stick to their word nowadays. And one thing I want to touch on with your analogy, I love boxing as well. And I use an analogy from boxing quite a lot. But one of the main ones that you touched on there in terms of discipline is also like, everyone said, oh, you're a boring fighter, or you pick your fights and all that. But yeah, he still kept his discipline.
Yeah. Yeah.
How easy, if he wasn't disciplined, he would have, okay, let me pick a hard opponent. Could have ruined his record. Or let me make an exciting fight.
Yeah, not even that. If you go to some of his fights, and it's funny, I was watching his fights 2 days ago. I don't know what sparked, and I was like, I want to watch it. You pay attention to him and other boxers. It's like when he's in tough situations in like the ring and people are swinging and the crowd's getting excited and he's like dodging punches, but the other guy's building momentum, he doesn't lose his composure.
Yes.
And he doesn't start recklessly swinging. When you go watch other boxers and you look at the same mindset,
look at Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, right? they lose composure.
People
that's
say
it.
you got boring fights.
Yeah.
You're trying to be a boxer. We want knockouts. What happened with Andy Ruiz?
Exactly.
Right? And then as he got hit, what happened after that?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah. So those things carry over to every aspect of life. Just hunting, waiting for that trade, waiting for the setups, waiting for it to come to you. And that requires so much patience and discipline and work within. And I think if traders can work on that as well as working on their technical side and their fundamental side, those things are going to interconnect.